famous Ronan Keating song has the following line: "Life is a roller coaster, you just gotta ride it." And that notion of life being a roller coaster is particularly true of 1 Kings chapter 19. If you've been tracking with us the past number of days, you'll know that the past number of chapters of 1 Kings have been all action. God has used Elijah in some astonishing ways. It's been extremely fast paced. God has used Elijah to confront the mighty King Ahab and expose the false god of Baal. God has provided for Elijah in astonishing ways, giving him food and drink through the likes of a needy widow and a raven doing home deliveries. In the most recent chapter, God used Elijah to expose the false god of Baal through sending fire to the altar and then sending this amazing rainstorm to end the drought. All of this to show that Yahweh is the one true God. God has been doing some astonishing things through Elijah, and so you would expect at this point for Elijah to be on cloud 9. Yet that's not quite what we see in 1 Kings chapter 19. After the events of chapter 18, King Ahab went back and told his wife Jezebel everything that had happened, and she was furious. In fact, she made a vow that she was going to end Elijah's life. Elijah's deeply worried by this, and so he runs for his life, and we're told that he travelled all day until he slouched under a bloom tree. At this point, verse 4 tells us that Elijah is so down at this point that he actually prays that God would end his life. Before long, Elijah falls asleep when God sends an angel to come and to touch him. "Get up and eat," the angel says to him, and as he awakened Elijah, he was given bread and water by this angel, which gave Elijah the energy and the strength to travel another 40 days and 40 nights until he made his way to Mount Sinai. There, Elijah spent the night in the cave before God told him to go to the top of the mountain. As Elijah stood there, he saw a windstorm, he saw an earthquake, and he saw a fire, but God wasn't in any of these. Suddenly he heard a whisper, which was ultimately a voice from God, and God told Elijah to go back to Damascus, appoint Hazael king of Aram, Jehu king of Israel, and appoint Elisha as your successor as prophet. Elijah did this, appointed Elisha, who then followed him. Well, there's great significance in some of the details here. Why is Elijah so discouraged? Why is he so down? Well, he's frustrated and he's discouraged by Israel's lack of faithfulness in God. He sees the pervasive nature of sin in Israel, and it's led to even their king, King Ahab, and his wife trying to kill him. And so what does God do as a means of comforting Elijah? Well, he leads him to Mount Sinai. And why Mount Sinai? Well, you might recall that's the exact place where God led the Israelites after the Exodus. It's the exact place where God made his covenant vows with the people of Israel. And how long does it take Elijah to get there? A period of 40 days. Again, that number 40 should be significant and should sound familiar, because that's the exact length of time it took, 40 years, for the people to wander around that exact wilderness. Do you see what God is doing? He's reminding Moses of the covenant promises he made with Israel back in the book of Exodus. While the people of Israel might have forgotten the covenant promises they made with God, God has not forgotten the covenant promises he made with Israel. Isn't that such an encouragement? That even in our fluctuating circumstances, even our fluctuating emotions, and even at times in light of our fluctuating faithfulness to God, he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. You know, Elijah was prone to the same discouragements and challenges that you and I are. In fact, the book of James, when speaking about Elijah, says that he's someone who had a nature like ours. And so while we might look at Elijah and we might ask him, what on earth are you doing? Why are you so down? Look what God has done for you and look at what God is doing through you. Truth is, he could look at your life and he could look at mine and he could accuse us of the exact same thing. Yet even in the midst of a topsy-turvy world, God is faithful. He will not abandon his love for or covenant with his people.